Hello everybody, Lab 4. Here we go, let's jump into it. So I'm going to share my screen and we will get into Lab 4 here. I will take you through the first part of Lab 4 in detail. I want to emphasize the use of comments, the use of the validation queries, okay, and how you structure your lab. I think everybody's getting there, but important that you have those concepts. Okay, so let's jump in, and I'm just going to go through just like I would if I was a student doing a lab. All right. So in iLearn, week 4, in the content, you can review the outline, check out the videos. Now you're going to see that I'm going to tell you how to do things a little bit differently than the video that you see there. Okay, and just click on that link here on show you what I'm referring to. Okay, how to start writing Lab 4. So follow what I say, which is a little bit different than what is in that video, okay? And then the insertion subquery and the next val and current, I will assume in my video here that you have looked at those next val and cur val functions so that you are familiar with those before you look at this video, okay? All right, let's go back to week 4, content, and scrolling down to the lab instructions. Right here, Lab 4, inserting rows of data, Oracle instructions. Okay, we'll click on that. And scroll down here, you see we have the objectives, reference materials, assignment instructions, and down here you have the evaluation points that Brother McLaughlin copies into his lab, and I'm just going to type these in as I go rather than cut and paste those into the lab. You're welcome to cut and paste those in as long as you follow correctly in the flow of inserting your code in between those rows. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up here to Oracle Lab 4 webpage, and that's what you click on here, and it takes you to the lab instructions. All right, Oracle inserts. You begin by running your Lab 2 script, okay, and you're going to also run the Seed Oracle Store. What does that do? The Seed Oracle Store populates the base tables, okay? So we have the Create Oracle Store script that that runs the and creates the base tables, and that's what we use as our example in Lab 2 to create our tables, our lab tables, which we put _lab on our tables, right, to distinguish. Okay, now the Seed Oracle Store inserts data into the base tables, and your Lab 2 script will insert data into your lab tables. Okay, so when we go into our script, begin our script, we should see those lines of code already in there. All right. Now, the general instructions. You should embed the verification queries inside your Apply Oracle Lab 4 SQL script. You must have the verification queries. They must be in the right place. Okay. I will highly emphasize that here. And those scripts, those validation queries in your script, those give you the answer, okay? When Brother McLaughlin shows you the expected results, those are the lab answers. He's giving you the lab answers, okay? So when your validation query runs in your script, you compare your actual result to the expected result in the lab instructions. That's the lab answer. And if you got the lab answer, you got that step correct. So it's important that you check that, okay? All right. Now you'll see the sentence here that, well, let's continue with the next sentence. All foreign key columns in steps 1 through 10 should be populated by subqueries that use the natural key values to discover the surrogate key values. I will show you exactly how to do that, okay? And we've talked about foreign keys, what they are pointers to the parent table, the primary key of the parent table, okay? And we'll see those in use today. Next sentence, no credit will be given for insert statements that use numeric literals for foreign key column values. So you can't hard code. I call that hard coding the foreign key values. I'll explain the difference, okay? But you cannot hard code foreign key values, with the exception of the created by and last updated by columns, which point to the system user table, and we will hard code those, okay? You'll see the difference. It'll be very apparent once we take a look at it. Okay, step 11. Step 11 is a little different than steps 1 through 10 because there you will be using the curval function to insert foreign key values. Okay, when you do that, you have to insert data into the tables in a specific sequence, and that is outlined in lab instruction step 11. Just follow that step by step, and you will get the right answers. Okay. All right. Now let's jump into step 1 here. So, system user lab table. We click on the instruction details. That opens up, and it tells us what we need to do here. Now, some of the data values require that you look them up. You look them up in the common lookup lab table by using these 2 columns and a where clause. And then you figure out how to write the subquery to pull those values in. Okay, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Now, here are the specifications for what to insert. Here are the column names. This first column name is actually incorrect. That's your system user lab ID. Okay, not system user ID, system user lab ID. And then to insert values into, we're going to insert 2 rows, and the values are given here in these columns. You see that you will use the next val function on the sequence generator to generate the system user lab IDs. And then we'll see how to insert the the values that we need into the table. Here's your validation query. Select star from System User Lab, and then here's the lab answer. When you run that query in your script, you should see these values print out on your screen, and then you know that you did the step correctly. And that must be in there, and that's what I look at to validate that you performed the step correctly. Now notice that this table here opens up to the right, okay, when I hover over it. So make sure you do that, okay? You hover over it, and you see it open up to the right, and you can scroll. You can then scroll to the right out to the end, okay, and see all of the values in those rows. You saw some dates out here. Let me bring that up again. These dates, your dates will be today's date. It will be the date that you run your script. You will see today's date in there. I'll show you how we're going to do that. Okay, so that's step one. Okay, let's get set up here, and let's go to let's go into gedit, and let's bring up the lab 4. So I have the lab 2 script here, and I'll just show you why I have that. We have these commands that begin our lab 2 script, and I'm going to copy these. I want to put these into my lab 4. You want to set echo on, you want to set feedback on, you want to set null, you want to set page size. We're going to add another 9 onto there and set the server output. Okay, you see our spool command is ahead of that. I'm just going to right now copy those while I'm in my lab 2 script. Let me emphasize, your lab 2 script must run cleanly before you run lab 4, or your lab 4 won't work. Okay, so I'm going to click on open here, home, data, GMT20171002, Oracle, lab 4, and here's the apply Oracle lab 4.sql script. I open that up, and here is the shell for the script, and it says add your lab here. Okay, so first thing we do, let's come down here. I'm going to put in some lines here, and we spool, right? And we saw that in our lab 2, and to create our log file, apply Oracle lab 4, and I'm going to name mine Mick dot SQL, or log, sorry. This is our log file, spool to our log file. Okay, and now I'm going to paste in those lines of code that I copied from lab 2. So I've got my spool command and my set commands. I said I was going to add an extra 9 on there of the page size. And now I'm ready to do my code, right? Now, the first thing I do is put in the comments where I am. You must always do this, okay? So, step 1, and step 1 is system And we system user lab inserts. Okay, and I really like the way Didier did his comments. Very professional, by putting some stars in here, before and after, and I'm going to do the same because I like the way he did that. Okay, and that highlights we are in step 1. Okay, now we bring up our lab instructions here, and I'm going to put those side by side with the lab here, and I'm going to add some lines down here so that I can have some space. Okay, so we now type in our insert statement. Okay, you can find examples of insert statements in your Lab 2, examples of insert statements in the Seed Oracle Store script, and you can find other places where you have examples of insert statements. Here, I'm just going to type in insert into system user lab, and then I'm going to put in here I'm going to list all the columns, okay, in this first. So the signature I will use is to anyway list all the columns. Insert into system user lab, and the first thing we're going to do is system user lab ID. And then we put a comma, and system user name, oops, comma, system user group ID, system user type. Now, where am I getting the names from? From the instructions over here. Gives us the correct names except for the first one. System user type. First name. Last, we've got so when we're specifying the columns that we're inserting into, we don't need to put values in for all the columns, only the ones that we're naming. So over here on our instructions, middle name, there's no middle name. That's blank, it's null. Okay, so I can skip that in my list of column names over here. Okay, so first name, and then I can just say last name. And then created by creation date and last updated by and last update date. Okay, and then I have my close paren there, and I'm going to leave that there. So I'm going up here. I want to be consistent here, leave a space in here. Come down here. Okay, and now I'm ready to put in my values. Values. Okay, now we look over in our instructions here, and we the value for column 1 is the sequence generator .next val. Okay, so we're going to put that in. Let me make a comment about capitalization here, uppercase and lowercase. So Oracle commands are not case sensitive. Okay, so even though the instructions here are in uppercase, our convention is to make the names of tables and columns lowercase, and to make the names of commands uppercase. Okay, so that's why I'm putting those in lowercase. Okay, so values system user S1 dot next val, and that will call the function, the next val function of the system user and we need to call this system user lab S1. And we can check that by going to our apply Oracle lab 2, and here we created our system user lab table, their system user lab ID. We got that name correct. And as I scroll down here, we're going to create the sequence. And here's the create sequence system user lab S1. So yes, we need to put system user lab S1 in here, not system user S1. All right. So now I'll go back to my apply Oracle lab 4 and system user lab S1 dot next val. Okay. Now I can go to the next value, and the next value here, so I put a comma, and the next value is the system user name Reacher J. Okay, so it's a varchar 2 field. That's the data type, which is a string, which is character data, right? So now I'm going to put in Reacher J in there. You see that it put in the closed single quote for us already. So I move past that, and I can then go to the next line here for the next value. Okay, now you notice that Reacher J I made uppercase. Okay, Oracle string character values, data types are case sensitive. Okay, Oracle varchar, which are character data types, are case sensitive. And the instructions say put that in uppercase. Therefore, when I type it in my code here, I have to make it uppercase. All right, what's the next thing I'm putting in here? The system user group ID. And here we see that the value is database administrator. So what am I going to do? Am I going to type in database administrator here? No. Let's go back to our Create Oracle store and look at this table, or our Apply Oracle Lab 2, and look at this system user table and how we created it. So we see that the system user name is a varchar 2. We just did that. And then we see system user group ID, and it's a number. It's a number. And it's a number because it is a foreign key. Now, we don't create this foreign key until down in step 2, after we create the common lookup table. At the very end, we insert these values into the common lookup table. And then we create this foreign key constraint. And we create this foreign key on the system user group ID, and it references the common lookup table, common lookup ID. Okay, so that system user group ID is a foreign key. It's a pointer. It links us back to the common lookup table. Why do we want to do that? I'll show you in just a second, okay? But let's note that there's another foreign key that we created here, the system user type. On that column, it's also a number because it's a foreign key referencing common lookup table, common lookup lab ID. And so it points to a value in the common lookup table. It is a link, okay? The foreign key, this another foreign key, a link back to the common lookup table. Okay, so what does that all mean to us in doing our insert statement here? Okay, time out, and now we're going to go look at the relationships between the common lookup table and the system user table. All right, I'm going to bring up my paint screen here, and I'm going to bring up, all right, this screen right here. Here I've drawn this out, and I highly recommend that you draw these things out. Also, I keep handy here my Lab 3 ERD, the diagram that shows the relationships between tables. Okay, that helps us understand what these foreign keys are doing. Okay, so my system user lab table, I've got a system user lab ID, system user name, system user group ID, and system user type, and these are the values that I want inserted into my system user lab table. I want this row. It's not complete here, but for our discussion here, right, this is the row of values I want inserted into the table. How do I know that those are the row of values I want inserted? The way I know that is I go here to the validation query and the validation results. And when I look at the validation results here, we're going to see first name, middle name, last name, and we're going to see oops, I need to scroll to the left here, sorry. Okay, so let's start here. The system user ID 1001, system user name Richard J, system user group ID is 2, and the system user type is 1008. Okay, and then we get first name, middle name, last name, and those other columns. Okay, so why do I want these values here? A value of 2 in the system user group ID and a value of 1008 in the system user type. Okay, That's what we're looking at in this paint picture. Okay, those are the values I want to get. Now here's a depiction of my common lookup table, and here are the columns of my common lookup table. Common lookup lab ID, common lookup context, common lookup type. And you can go to, I'm going to go back to my VM here, and you can go to SQL+, open up an activity window, and go to SQL+. Let's just do that. Okay, I'm going to close this window, this terminal. Oh, let me close it gracefully here. I'll exit from SQL+. You see that I'm in the Lab 2 directory. I really want to be, because I'm doing Lab 4, I want to be in the Lab 4 directory. So I'm going to cd change directory /lab 4. And now I'm in the Lab 4 directory, and then I'm going to start up SQL+, student/student. Okay, now I'm in SQL+, and let's see what's in the common lookup table. Okay, common lookup lab table. Oh, let's do it correctly here. Select star from common lookup lab semicolon, and this is what I get. Now I don't like the display isn't good here, so that's why we do the set. Let's do set line size, and in our script we set the page size, but we didn't set the line size. You might, so we should probably set a line size in there. You can play with this line size to see what works out as far as displaying, the best display into your log file. Okay, so I'm going to do set line size 9999. Oops. Return. I don't need a semicolon for that. And then I'm going to run my last query. I can do that by pushing the up arrow on my keyboard, and it brings back the last thing I entered. And if I do it one more time, it brings back my select statement. And I run that, and now it looks a lot better. Okay, and I'm going to scroll up just a little bit so we see what's in the common lookup table. Okay, now ignore the dates on the left here, and we're going to look to the right of these dates. Okay, so our common lookup lab ID of 1, row 1, we have system user lab. The common lookup context is system user lab. The common lookup type is system admin, and then we have the meaning and the creation date and things over to the right here. Okay, so what do we use the common lookup table for? It is our list of valid values that we can then insert into our other tables. And in Lab 2, we entered these rows into our common lookup table. We entered rows 1, and 2 here, and those are the rows that we're interested in here. So we see in row 2 that this common lookup context is our table name, the system user lab table. Yep, that's the table we're working on. And now we see here the type. We've got 2 possible types here, system admin or DBA. In our lab instructions, it told us that Jack Reacher is a database administrator. So we're interested in this row right here that says DBA, a common lookup type of DBA. And so this is row 2 of our common lookup table. The DBA row here is row 2. Okay. Now let's go back to our picture here. And so we've established that in our system user lab table, these two columns, system group ID and system user type, are foreign keys that point to or reference the common lookup lab table. Now here's row 1 in our common lookup lab table. It's the system. It references the system user lab table. That's what we're working on. Common lookup type is system admin. And the second row in the common lookup lab table is also the system user lab, referencing the system user lab table, and it is the DBA. And that's what we want. So we need to get this value of 2. This is our primary key for the common lookup lab table, and we need to get that value of 2 inserted into our system user lab table as the system group ID for Jack Reacher. Okay? Now, going down in the common lookup table, there was a row further down, row 1008. Okay? And row 1008, let's go back to our lab instructions here. For Jack Reacher here, this column, you see that the system user type of home, that's what we want, system user type of home. So when we look at that in our common lookup table, we see down here that row 1008 that says multiple says home. That is a common lookup type of home. So we want to find, we want to get this row. Okay, going back to our picture here, we want to get the value of the common lookup lab ID here, 1008, into the system user type here for our row that we're inserting for Jack Reacher. And what does that do? Once we retrieve this, then these values point to the common lookup table. Okay, so let me say that one more time a different way. This is what we're going to write a subquery in our insert statement, and in that subquery, Oracle will go find this table for us. We're going to say, go look in the common lookup lab table and find the row where the context, the lookup context is system user lab, and the common lookup type is DBA. When you find that row, and Oracle will do that, and Oracle will go and find that row, then take the common lookup lab ID and put that value into the system group ID in this row that we are inserting. Okay? And then the same for the system user type. Go into the common lookup lab table, find the row where the common lookup context is multiple and the common lookup type is home, take that common lookup lab ID and put that into the system user type for the value that we want in that row for Jack Reacher. Okay? Oracle will do that, and we will then have that value inserted. Then, when we are using this table, we'll be able to go in and say, let's look at Jack Reacher. What is Jack Reacher's group ID? What is his role? What is his group ID? He will. We can have Oracle do this for us when we do a join, and we'll learn about that next week in Lab 5. But we will tell Oracle, take this value of 2, go into the common lookup lab table and find that row. Then go to the common lookup type and find that value, and Oracle will do that and find the value of DBA, and Oracle will come back and say Jack Reacher is a DBA. Okay? And what type of user is Jack Reacher? Is he a work-at-home user? Is he a home or a work user? Okay, and so we'll say Oracle. Now take this value 1008. Go into the common lookup table. Find the common lookup ID that matches 1008. Go over to the common lookup type. Find that value and bring that back. And Oracle will bring that back and say Jack Reacher is a system user type of home. He's a home work-at-home employee. Okay? Okay, you see how that works. You might replay that if you don't. Let's go back to our lab and see what we do now to code that in our lab. Okay, going back to our gedit, and here's where we left off. Okay, so we're going to write what is called a subselect query here. Okay, so we're going to tell Oracle now, select, come on, select, and what do we select? We select the primary key. We're creating a foreign key value where we select the primary key, the common lookup lab ID from the common lookup lab table, where the common lookup context equals, now this is a character field, single quote, and system user lab is the context, right? And we could just go back and check that. Okay, there it is. System user lab is the value in the common lookup context. Okay. So then back to gedit. Okay, and then I need to move past that closing single quote, and we have an Oracle match on the common lookup type, and where the common lookup type equals DBA. Okay. There's our subselect. Note that I put uppercase for System User Lab and uppercase for DBA because in character fields Oracle is case sensitive. Okay, so now we've done that part with the system user, or with the first foreign key for the system user group ID. Now we go to the next one, the system user type, and we do the same thing. Now what I'm going to do is copy and paste. Okay, So I'm going to copy what I've put in here, and I'm going to paste in here. Now, my select statement up here, I need to fix it. This select statement, this subselect, needs to have parens around it. So I need to put an opening one there and a closing one here, and then another open paren here. And okay, I've got a closing one here. I need to make sure I leave that there. Now I just need to modify this for what I want next, right? System user lab, same, right? Same table name, same context. But here, I want to look for the row where the common lookup type is home, right? H-O-M-E. So I modify that. And then there, we've got our two subselects. Okay? Now, let's finish our insert statement, and let's go to our lab, bring up our lab instructions here so we can finish our insert statement. Okay, so first name. Okay, so our next column that we're inserting into here is first name. So we've got that up here. Now we're putting the value, and that first name is Jack. Remember that that's case sensitive. So single quote Jack. Okay, and I move past the close quote. And then middle name is null, and because we've listed the column values here, we don't need to do anything with the middle name. We just go to last name, the value for the last name, which is Reacher. Okay. Okay. And then the next thing we're inserting is the created by, the creation date, last updated by, and last update date. Now, here's where we can hard code the foreign key values, right? Back to the system user table, which it's a self-referencing table, right? So we're just going to put in here a value of 1, meaning that the system administrator is creating this row. And the date, what is the creation date? We're going to put sysdate. Okay, that's a function that Oracle will, when it sees that keyword, it will go and look up today's date and put that date in there. Okay, and then for last updated, same thing, and also sysdate. And now we have completed our insert statement, so we'll put a close quote to match the values, right? Values, open quote, and we started. Now we have, parentheses. We have an open paren for our values list, and now a close paren, matching close paren, we're at the end of our values list, and then a semicolon to end that statement. All right, so there's our first insert. Okay, now to do the second insert, what would I do? I would copy and paste the first insert down here, and then just modify the values that need to be modified for the second insert. I'm just going to go ahead and do that for you here because I want to. Okay, so copy, and now paste, And now I have my second insert in here. I'm inserting the same thing, the values, system user lab s1.nextVal. And I didn't talk about that in the diagram, in the picture. Let's do that. Okay, so back to our paint diagram. So I have on here the left, here's our sequence generator, system user, and this is lab, system user lab S1 generator that we said start at 1001. And when we execute, when Oracle executes that insert and it sees the next val function, it will come and get that value, 1001, put that into the table for that value, and then increment that to 1002 so that next time when Oracle comes back and we get next val, then it will get 1002. And we don't have to keep track of that sequence. Oracle keeps track of that sequence for us. Okay, so we have the same thing. System user lab s1.nextVal, that will get the value of 1002 for us. Then this username we have to change, right? And the username for this one is, we see over on the right there, Owens R. Okay, so we capitalize, or we uppercase. Owens R. And then we have our subselects. Owens R is also a DBA. Oh, we can just leave that like it is. And Owens R also works at home. Oh, we can just leave that as it is. We need to come down here and put in, for the first name, Ray, and for the last name, Owens, and the system administrator, 1, sysdate, today's date, 1, sysdate, and now we have our second insert. Okay, so what have we done? We've done step 1. Okay, now what do? Now we validate. Okay, so we're going to put our comments in here again, and you must put your comments, step 1, validation. Okay, validation of inserts. And then we put in our validation query. Now that's a simple query, we could type that in, but most validation queries are not so simple. So you come over here, you select that validation query, be sure to get the semicolon, and copy that. Come back over to gedit and paste that line in here. Okay, and now we're really done with step 1. We need to put in our spool command for our log file. Okay, so spool off. Okay, so that will close our log file when we run this, and now we're going to go run and test this. I have to save it first. Now, when I save this, we started with the lab template file, right, and I've been working in there. I'm going to save as and put my name in there. Apply Oracle lab for Mick.sql. And I want to save that in my lab for directory here. And so I'm ready to save. Okay. Apply Oracle lab for. Now let's go to our SQL+ screen. And here's our SQL+ window. And now I want to run that script. How do we run the script? We say at Now, I'm in the lab 4 directory, right? That's where I want to be. So I don't have to fully qualify the name. And I can say apply Oracle lab 4 underscore Mick dot SQL. So I type in the file name and hit enter, and let's see what happens. Oops, it's now running. And what is it doing? Why are we seeing all of this output, tables created, all of that? Because remember, every time we test our lab, every time we run it, we go back and refresh. We run the cleanup, we wipe everything out, we recreate the tables, we redo the inserts, and Oracle does everything from scratch every time we test, every time we run our lab. So again, every time you test, when you test an insert, test it inside your script. You can do ad hoc queries in SQL+, but when you're testing your script, those inserts, do it inside of your script, okay? Because if you make a mistake somewhere later on, you want to be able to rerun, and so you don't want to get an error. The row already exists, so you go back and you recreate everything. All right, this is running real slow for me because I'm using up a lot of memory on my machine. I have 2 VMs open actually here, and the lab 2 is almost finished running. There's our rental item lab. Okay. Now, after we've done all of that, we look up here. Actually, we can look up here. We can see I had an error in my insert statement. And because I copied that first insert statement, I have the same error. And so I need to fix that in my script. Now, to go and fix that in my script, though, what I want to show you first, we were in SQL Plus running. We could see the results in there, but where we want to really analyze the results, because this is going to get longer and longer, we want to do that in the log file. So I come here, I called my log file apply Oracle lab for mick.log, and I open that file, and here I see my code that I wrote and then the error. Okay, so error at line 11, and it says I'm missing a comma. Okay, now don't fix it here. This is your log file. Okay, so I need to go back to my SQL script, my .sql file, to fix this. Okay, so here's my insert, and I have Let's look at what that error told me again. Last update date. Here's my problem. It's telling me I have a missing comma, and in reality, I have a missing underscore. Okay? So SQL errors don't always tell you exactly what the problem is. Okay? So I hit an error on this line, but it's not a missing comma, it's a missing underscore. Okay? So I put that underscore in there, and maybe some of you saw that already. So I put that underscore in there, and I put that underscore into this insert statement, and I save, and then I go back to SQL Plus and I run it again. Okay, so if I come back to my SQL Plus screen, I can arrow up, and it will give me the command, the last command I entered, and I can hit enter and run that. And it was very slow running, so I'm not going to run it again for you here, but hopefully that fixed my errors, and I now can validate my output. And then I should run it again. I'm going to pause here while I run it, okay, so that we can just skip to the log file, okay? So I'm going to go back, hang on, here. And pause the recording. There we go. All right, I actually had a couple of other errors in my file there. Happens to all of us. And let me show you what those were. Okay, so here's my apply Oracle for Oracle Lab 4 Mick script. Okay, so created by. I left out the D on created by. Okay, got that in there. Then down here in my subselect, in my second subselect, I had a common lookup context of system user lab with a common lookup type of home. No match. So I need multiple, right? In this case, the common lookup context is multiple, and the common lookup type is home, right? And then I get the right results. Let me make sure I have that correct. Yes, I have it correct here. I just didn't follow my own instructions. Okay, so then I go to my log file, and because the log file has changed, it will say reload. Yes, reload the new results. And I look in here, and here's my validation query. And if I put this side by side with the lab instructions, and because it's scrunched up here, it's hard to analyze, so you can do that. But we can easily see that we have Reacher J, Jack, Reacher, in here, and Owens R, Ray Owens. And you can see that the value for you can see that the value for the DBA, the group ID value is 2 in both of those, and the type, system user type, is 1008 in both of those. Now, you do see in my results that the system user ID is 1005 and 1006 because I have inserted some additional rows into that table, but yours should come up 1001 and 1002. Okay, so validation query and validation results. The expected results here match the actual results that we get, except as noted there on the system user ID. Okay. Now for you, on to step 2 in the lab instructions. Okay, so you do step 2 the same way, and you have, I'm going to maximize that. You have inserts into the common lookup table, and you have the 2 rows that you need to insert, and your validation query. Be sure to put your comments in and label your steps and label your validation steps. Now, I'm going to go to step 3, the member table. I'm going to, okay, you do the member table, and then step 4 is the member lab table. All right, so I'm going to go to step 4. When you do the member lab table, I've just got another diagram here, and I'll just talk you through that quickly here. All right, so the member table, I've inserted these values into the member table, member 1003, an account number, a credit card number. All right, now I'm inserting into the contact table, right? So in the contact table, insert into the contact table. Next val will get me the sequence, and here's my sequence up here with 1004 that will get put into here. And now I have my subselect because the member ID in the contact table is a foreign key to the member ID in the member table. Okay, so here's my subselect. Select member ID from member, where the account number is X1232, and so Oracle will find that member ID 1003 in the member table, and we'll insert that value 1003 into our member ID in the contact table. Okay, in step 11, okay, the difference in step 11 when you do the contact and the address table and telephone tables, you won't do this subselect. You won't need to do this subselect because you will use the curval function. So instead of this subselect, you will say member s1.curval. Right, so the last value used in the member table was 1003. So when we call this function member s1.curval, it will return a value of 1003 to put in there as our foreign key into the contact table. All right, so you'll do that in step 11 in that set of tables, and and you can look at the seed oracle store script as an example of how to do that. The seed oracle store script in the live directory uses the curval function, does those tables in sequence, and uses the curval function to get those foreign key values. All right. Okay. I think those are the points for Lab 4. Just checking my notes here to make sure I've told you everything that I intended to tell you here on Lab 4. And I will give you a couple of more notes in the announcement. Okay, so look in there. I'm going to give you a little piece of code that you'll need for step, what is it, step 7, the telephone inserts into the telephone table, telephone lab table. And then the expected results, there are 2 places in the lab where they're incorrect, and I will make note of those in the announcement, okay, of the correct values for the expected results that you should get, okay? All right, let me know if you have any questions. Contact your peers through a question and discussion board. Get with Josh, the TA. If you need help, get with me if you need help. Okay.